Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, and I am pulling an episode out of the vault this week. I have had a few of you reach out and ask for episodes that give recommendations for prompts on the Books in the Freezer reading challenge. So I thought this would be a good one to pull out of the vault. This is hotel horror that I recorded with Jocelyn a few years ago. And this is one of the bonus prompts on the Books in the Freezer reading challenge this year. So, a lot of good recommendations here. If you are a Patreon supporter, I also try to release a newsletter every month with some recommendations. And I also gave some hotel horror recommendations this month, but this episode is full of them. It is April. It is definitely not too late to still join in on the reading challenge. The layouts and stuff are on Instagram. You can join on Storygraph. There are almost 700 of you joining in this year. So it has been a lot of fun. I love checking out what everyone else is reading. So see you later and enjoy. Welcome to Books in the Freezer, a podcast dedicated to the deliciously disturbing world of horror fiction. I'm your host, Stephanie, and today I am joined once again by Jocelyn to talk about the horror of hotels.
Hello! Oh, I'm so excited for this topic.
I have been really excited to do this one. This is one I've been thinking about for a long time.
Oh my. Possessing your mind.
I stayed in the creepy room that I wasn't supposed to stay in.
Oh, and now you're just trapped in the time loop, psychological nonsense that is your own mind possessed by hotel topics. I don't know where I'm going with that. Just so people know, I'm on the tail end of COVID and everything that entails. So, the brain fog, the scratchy voice, the everything. So, bear with me this episode.
Man, so what are your thoughts on hotels?
I dislike hotels. It's kind of it's unfair. It's unfair. I'm a homebody. I don't even really like to travel that much. So when we're talking your basic standard hotel, I am not a fan. I find them cold. I find them uncomfortable. To me, that signals I'm not home. Therefore, I'm angry. But also, we've had some frustrating experiences. My husband and I have had frustrating experiences in the past where we have been displaced for chunks of time. Like, we had a few years ago, our ceiling collapsed in one of our apartments here, and we had to stay in a hotel, and ultimately we just changed apartments entirely. That was a whole mess, and that really sucked and was very traumatic. And then recently there was a house fire situation that affected us quite a lot. And so we were displaced for over a month living in a hotel, and that was miserable. So that is unfair because I have these bad experiences with your typical hotel. But, a fun, bed and breakfast, something that's stylized, a boutique, or even I kind of enjoy those kind of really tacky Atlantic City casino hotels, glitzy and over the top. I like that. If it's going to be an experience, I'll be there for it. But otherwise, I have no time for it at all.
That is unfortunate. Yeah, you've had some rough experiences.
Yeah, it's given hotels a bad rap.
Yeah.
But, I shouldn't judge them for those things.
I have not had those experiences, and I really enjoy traveling. I don't get to do it too often. So I feel like my reaction to hotels is like when you watch a new season of The Bachelorette or The Bachelor and they check into a hotel room and everyone is like jumping on the beds and they're like, "Hello, Virginia."
That's excellent. I love that. I think that's a wonderful vibe.
I'm like, I love being in this small air conditioned room watching 3 hours of diners, drive-ins, and dives with my husband.
Yes.
That is like the vibe.
Well, I was just talking to a friend of mine. She recently went down to Tennessee for like a family thing, and she was like talking about the hotel that they got, and I was like saying exactly what I just said. Oh, I don't like hotels. Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, it's the only time I get to watch TV in bed, because she doesn't have a TV in her bedroom that gets, just like your basic channels like cable. And she loves just, flipping through the channels and doing exactly that, like watching Triple D and just vegging out in this giant bed. And I get that. Like, that is luxury, truly. Like, I love watching TV in bed. So if staying in a hotel means you get to watch TV in bed, 100% there for it, yes.
I do love that. I will say with small children, there's a little more sharing of the TV time. So
yeah.
they aren't as
fair.
thrilled about Triple D. But
I can't imagine why not. Guy Fieri is like a beautiful clown. He would be so entertaining. I don't know why they're not just transfixed.
I mean, I don't know. My 8-year-old is like, I can only watch this guy eat burgers like so many times. I don't understand.
That's a good point. There's a lot of burger eating.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I will never get tired of this. Like, he has such a look of delight on his face every time he bites into something, and it in turn gives me delight.
I mean, the small joys. Food is a small joy, and it can fulfill your life in a beautiful way. So, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking about horror that's set in hotels. So, I mean, what's scary about hotels?
Well, for me, I have those experiences. Yeah. So signaling that my home is unsafe and I can no longer stay there, which, oh my God, this is off track, but it's just making me think about one of my all-time favorite movies, Poltergeist. And, after they go through all the hell in the house and they check into the motel and they roll the TV out onto like the like little porch, wraparound porch area. That's just making me think of that now too. It's like, oh, their house no longer exists actually, so they have to like live in this hotel. Anyway, yes, I think that like in general, hotels, they're transient. Like there's transients. People are checking in and checking out. It's not. There was a period of time where people would live there permanently as a residence. That was like 100 years ago, and that was popular. But for the most part, like, folks are just temporary, and so you don't really know who's there. There are strangers really close together. The hotel itself, this is a thing for me, it's unfamiliar. It's not that comfortable because you didn't create the space. It's just kind of like a bland one-size-fits-all kind of decor, which can be kind of fun, actually. The more outdated, the more delightful in my mind. But yeah, there's just seems because there's strangeness happening, there's strange people, and you don't know who's next to you. I feel like that can be a situation that creates danger or fear,
There's definitely a vulnerability.
Yeah.
To it, yeah, all these people staying in the same place. And also, I mean, just thinking back on the actual true crime cases that have happened in hotels. I mean, you got H.H. Holmes.
Yes.
Yep. That was a
classic.
You got Elisa Lam in L.A.
Was she the one that ended up in the water?
Yes.
tower?
Yeah, she's the one where they have the video surveillance of her in the elevator, like looking
that's spooky.
out. Very spooky.
That elevator footage is scary.
The one that I always think about is that Kennica Jenkins, the like 19-year-old who like wandered off from a party and was found in a freezer.
Oh,
like,
my
in
God.
The hotel.
Ooh, like in the kitchen area? Oh,
and there's just
yikes.
like chilling footage of her just like wandering.
Oh no.
And it was like under construction. It's just like
spooky. That's the real real spook factor.
It's still unsolved. No.
Oh, well, the Elisa Lam one of my picks today kind of references that.
So does one of mine.
Oh, yay! Oh, well, she lives on, so
Yeah.
we honor her.
Have you stayed at any interesting or famous hotels?
Kind of, sorta, and also not really. There's the Fort William and Henry Hotel in Lake George, which is right next to the Fort William and Henry, which was really important during the French and Indian War. And so that fort's been around for an extremely long time. And I stayed at the hotel, which is not the fort, unfortunately. How cool would that be if the fort was converted to a hotel? I don't think they would let that happen, but that would be really rad. I stayed in the hotel last summer for one of my best friend's bachelorette parties, and 4 of us arrived at the party early, including the bachelorette herself, and we decided to do the ghost tour at the fort. So the fort has like a ghost tour that they do, and it's really popular, and of course there were many deaths at this fort for all different kinds of reasons. Some of the most tragic were actually like illness outbreaks, though, like typhoid and things like that. It wasn't exactly war that was killing the most people at the fort. So it was kind of cool to go around and learn the history and see some of the most allegedly haunted places in the fort. But then when we went back to the hotel after, we had separate rooms. So like 2 of us were in one room and 2 of us were in another room, and they were on different floors because of the way that we like messed up the booking. And all of a sudden in my room, our lights started flickering, and it was getting really strange the way it was flickering. So we started like talking about how the ghost followed us from the fort to the hotel. And then we got text messages from our friends in the other room that were like, our lights are flickering. It's so freaky in here. And now that I think about it, probably just all the lights were flickering in the hotel at the same time. But we maintained that we brought the ghosts back to the hotel. So that was fun. I mean, the hotel itself, it is kind of a resort, but it could use a little work. But Lake George is very cool. I highly recommend if folks want to go stay up in upstate New York. Lake George is gorgeous. It's definitely worth your time. But there are other like hotels that I would love to call out. One being the Aurora Inn in Aurora, New York, which is one of the cutest, most comfortable, after I just talked a bunch of shit about hotels. The Aurora Inn is unbelievably cute, and it's really old. It was built in 1833, and again, this is in upstate New York. It's on Cayuga Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes. It's not that big. I don't know how many rooms it has, but I don't know, maybe like 16 or something like that. And it's so beautifully styled, and it's so cozy. And Mark and I stayed there for Mark is my husband. I just realized I'm talking like Stephanie knows. The listeners don't know, but we stayed there for an anniversary, and it was just so charming. But the interesting thing about Aurora is that the woman who like invented and promoted the American Girl brand, she is responsible for like the majority of the restoration of this little town.
Oh, wow.
And she basically like owns the town. So it kind of feels like Stars Hollow. Like it's really freaking cute, and it's right on the lake. So, I had to throw in something good about hotels.
Were you an American Girl?
I was, but I read all the books. I never got a doll.
Me neither.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the catalogs.
Yes. Oh, and agonizing over them, right?
And I'd be like, I want to order one that looks just like me and get matching outfits and get a dollhouse. No, it wasn't to be. Yeah, I didn't get one either. But I did love the books, and I did like to flip through the catalog, even though it tortured me. I love to look at the dresses. But yeah, Aurora is very cute. So again, another big old wreck for upstate New York. I'm just a shill for upstate New York. How much are they paying you?
Oh, just, this runs in my blood. This is like, I've been cursed by generations of upstate New Yorkers to have to go out and evangelize to the world.
Doing work for the tourism board.
Yes, right. But I do want to call out this weird little bed and breakfast called the Ben Conger Inn in my hometown of Groton, New York. It was originally built in 1921 it was a private home of a senator, I believe Ben Conger. I think that is actually the man's name. I think he was a senator, a state senator. Sorry, not a U.S. senator. But it also became allegedly the safe haven for Dutch Schultz, the famous bootlegger and numbers racketeer. There are a lot of rumors about this place. There are rumors that it was a stop on the Underground Railroad, which couldn't have happened because it was built in 1921. There are rumors that there were more illicit dealings with the Dutch Schultz connection. They say that like big entertainers of the day would go and stay there, you know, Frank Sinatra kind of deal. I cannot believe that ever happened. Like, folks need to know this town is so small. There's no way. But there were also rumors that it was haunted. And so I had a buddy who grew up right next to the inn. And when we were bored, he and I would go over and, you know, the inn owners knew him and obviously he's the neighbor. So would let us in and we would just wander around like free reign in the inn and like go in all the weird nooks and crannies, and like he almost got stuck in the laundry chute and like all this nonsense. But we were hunting those ghosts and we never saw any. So that was disappointing. It is a really cute little inn, but that's the closest I think I got to having an experience of like, you know, small town life, haunting, legend, etc., etc. Very fun, very like kids on bikes vibes. So
very nice.
Yeah. How about you? Have you stayed anywhere cool?
The Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo, which we talked about being the inspiration for Rachel Harrison's book, The Return. And
yeah, it's gotta be.
For listeners, I will put in the link so you can go and look at all these rooms, because every single room has an individual theme and you just have to see it. It's very like kitschy. And kind of like, I don't know, like Flintstones glam. Like, I don't know how to possibly describe this.
Oh, man. Have you seen the Flintstones sequel, the Flintstones movie sequel, Viva Rock Vegas?
Yes.
Oh, my God. It is giving Viva Rock Vegas vibes, like,
it is
extremely hard.
Viva Rock Vegas. I was thinking also in Goodfellas when, like, Karen and Henry remodel their house, and it is, like, so tacky.
Yes.
And gaudy and over the top.
Oh, I love it, though. I love it.
Yeah, it is just so fun and so loud and unapologetic. It's like very pink. I was telling you, they're known weirdly for their urinal, like in their restaurant, is like this rock waterfall. I do remember going in and looking at it because like it's one of those things like everyone wants to look at it, you know.
Hell yeah.
People stop over and look at it.
I do want to know how men feel about this, because I know men have opinions. So if anyone has used it, or if anybody is just thinking about it, I want to know if you think this would be cool to use or not.
I would imagine so, right?
I mean, I would think it would be cool to use, you know.
Another family vacation we took was to Deadwood in South Dakota, which was really fun because it's obviously like an old Western town.
Yeah.
And so like every place you go into, it's like, this is the chair that Wild Bill Hickok was shot in, you know, and it's a very themed, very cute downtown area. But I remember I took a tour, like Kevin Costner owned a hotel in Deadwood for a few years. I don't think it's open anymore. I looked online. It's not open anymore. But
oh, that's a bummer.
He had like the first floor was all movie memorabilia. Like he had one of the Batmobiles. He had like the white linen suit from Forrest Gump. Like he had like,
wow. Yeah. I didn't realize he was such a collector.
And apparently he like really loved Deadwood. Like I guess he filmed near the Black Hills for Dances with Wolves and was like, I love this area.
Yeah. Well, he is in Yellowstone now. So that does make sense.
He loves the American West.
He sure does. He sure does. But that sounds so cool, Deadwood. Like, that's just, it's kind of fascinating. It's a fascinating part of American history. So that's nice that it's kind of like, you know, it's a museum of sorts now as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, there's like performances. Like, everything is so historical there. Very big on the whole, like, Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. True American legends.
But while we were in Deadwood, we did take a tour of a haunted hotel. I want to say it was the Franklin Hotel, question mark. I don't remember. But the tour guide was saying like a lot of spooky stuff had happened. Like record players would turn on and lights would flicker. Spooky. It actually did scare me because I was like 12 years old. And I was like, that is the scariest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, that sounds so much fun,
Yeah.
though. That's like the perfect time to go. And you're 12 and you're just ready to be scared.
Yeah.
You're like, give it to me.
And it's like,
Oh, you know what, though? When I was in when I was in New Orleans, we did go by the woman who, like, was known for horrifically abusing enslaved people in her house.
yeah.
Like, we visited her house, and I can't remember if it had ever been used as a hotel at any point in time or not, but it had hotel vibes, so I'm just gonna call that out.
Oh man, so we also have been watching a lot of hotel horror movies to prep for this episode.
So many good ones.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably talk about the one people are thinking about the most, which is probably The Shining.
Yeah, I think everybody's brain just goes straight to The Shining when they think of hotel horror, because it is really the epitome of the concept. I hesitate to say genre, but like the concept, the trope of hotel horror. I mean, the hotel itself is the entity that is corrupting. So it is pretty it's pretty high up on it. I feel like people probably think of it as like the epitome of the idea of hotel horror.
Yeah, The Shining is the quintessential. And I mean, without the concept of other people being there, like literally just you and your family being stuck in this place.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, that's very creepy. Talking about we had mentioned the true crime cases of people just wandering the halls and stuff like that. Footage, that is the vibe with The Shining, is like people just like wandering these empty halls and acting strangely, and you're not really sure why. I mean, that really kind of, I feel that connection there.
Well, and the ghostly conspiracy against you.
Yes.
I mean, I think we also have to touch on another Stephen King work. And I think listeners know where I'm going with this.
Build it up. Build it up.
The short story. You know the one I'm talking about.
It's Numbers.
1408, baby.
Woo, woo, woo!
We said it.
This is actually my husband's favorite horror movie
Really?
of all time. Yeah, he's not a horror dude. He doesn't really have tolerance for it. But he loves psychological thrillers, and this one definitely it hits psychological thriller for him more than it does horror. So he loves this. He actually was the one who introduced me to it. So it's kind of a big deal in our house.
Have you read the book, the short story?
No, I have the collection. I haven't gotten to it yet, but last year when we watched 1408, like the last time we watched it, which we watch it probably like once a year, I pulled out the collection and I made this big speech about how I was going to read it. Still waiting for me.
It's a bit different. It goes in a different direction.
That's what I hear. Yeah, which intrigues me. I always like to see how King goes, like all the different directions, because he's got a great range. So
Yeah.
even when he's just like throwing shit at the wall, I find that interesting. It's not always successful, but it's interesting to witness, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those things though, like I had read the story and then I was watching the movie and I'm like, wait, what's happening now? What? We're doing what now? Okay.
Interesting. Okay, I'm very excited to read it now and do a comparison.
But I really like it. I mean, yeah, you have all the build up with like, oh, you can't go in there. We don't let anybody stay in there. And he's like, I do this for a living. I need to stay in this room and write about it.
Yeah.
It's for a book. I gotta do it.
Samuel L. Jackson is so good in that role in the movie too. He's so good at like being foreboding and like the harbinger of doom kind of thing.
And he's like, can I do anything to dissuade you to not stay in this room?
He's so eerie.
A trilogy of literature and a classic movie that has been, I've done a whole episode on this property. That is Psycho.
Hell yeah. Psycho's so good. Like, it's, when I was preparing for this episode and I was doing just some light Googling on the history of hotels and motels in this country. And Psycho came out really at like the boom of motels.
Really?
And it's so interesting because it's been a while since I've watched the movie, so maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there is a whole thing in the story where he's talking about they built the highway somewhere else and now people aren't coming. Yeah. And so like that connection between like motel culture exploding and highways being built and this one being left out, you know, this one just kind of dwindling on the edge, that just makes it so much scarier to me that it has been forgotten and left unchecked for so long, for like all of these like perversions to just bubble up kind of thing.
Well, then, yeah, in the book series, that's like a point in the third one that there's like murders happening, and then that's the reason why. And, like they're rebuilding the motel in the same location. And when we did the episode, I'm like, you don't have to build it in the same location. You can build it closer to the highway.
Yeah, somewhere more practical, perhaps. I would think that location would be a little tainted too.
Yeah. Well, Psycho also gets into, I think, a common theme in a lot of the other hotel horror movies, which is being watched and surveillance. Like, this is a new place, you're unfamiliar with it, and you don't know who's been there before and what they've left or what access they have to you. Which,
you know, not to jump ahead, we can certainly circle back to Psycho, but that is a thing that is a big plot point in The Rental, which is that newer release that Dave Franco directed, right? It's Dave Franco. Yeah, there's a big thing about being watched in that one, and that's Airbnb. That's not necessarily hotels or motels, but that has a lot of the fears that I see in hotel horror, and that I think people fear when they think about hotels and things like that. You know, you're in a strange place. In this case, it's someone's like home kind of deal. So you've got all their things there, which is a little creepy. You know, it's cool to see what people have in like their Airbnbs, but I also think it's just kind of weird. It's like people's things. But, you know, in The Rental, they're being watched, they're being observed, and then like people show up and, you know, like it's just the paranoia, you know, it ratchets up in that one. That one's bleak. I don't know. Did you watch that
I did watch that one.
That one's bleak.
I did research for this episode.
Yeah. Yes, research.
Guys, I work really hard for you.
You put the hours in. You do.
I did.
You do.
I rewatched The Innkeepers, the Ty West movie.
I have not seen The Innkeepers, and I need to watch it, especially because I just watched X. And I'm like, oh, what else have I seen Ty West? Like, what are all his things? I was on his IMDb, and I was like, I haven't seen The Innkeepers. So I'm negligent in that. I'll have to go watch it.
I think it's on Tubi.
Okay. Tubi's great.
Yeah, I love Tubi.
Yeah, they've got everything.
Yeah, that one's a bit more of a ghost story. It's pretty good. There's like a whole... Yeah, I don't know. I can't get like too into anything, you know?
Yeah, I know. There's so many twists in hotel horror. I feel like hotel horror truly has like many a twist, perhaps more than other kinds of horror. Ooh, that's a hot take that I might meditate on a little bit.
All right. I also watched, I watched Vacancy, the one with Luke Wilson.
Oh, that was a big one for me. My sister and I love that one. I actually recently rewatched that one as well. That one is the epitome of like that early 2000s horror vibe.
Yes.
Like very strong, very strong. The color palette, everything.
Yeah, the color palette. Also the surveillance coming back in.
Yes. Oh my God, you're right.
So it's this couple who is on the rocks and they have car issues and they pull into a hotel to stay the night and they find a stack of snuff films in the hotel room. And as they're watching one of them, they realize what it is, and they realize that all these films are filmed in that motel room. And then they hear like knocking at the door. And
Ugh. It's a good one though. If people want to do like aughts horror night, you know, definitely think about that one.
Yeah, I would say underrated.
Yeah.
Also, I want you guys to know that I watched Hostel for this episode. You're
Martyr
welcome.
Stephanie. Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to do it. So.
Have you seen it?
Oh, God, I saw it in theaters, and I'll never watch it again.
I will say simultaneously worse than I thought, but also better than I thought it would be.
You know, my sister rewatched it recently, and she kind of went on a campaign about how it's actually good, and we're giving it a bad name for, the torture porn stuff. I don't know if I want to hazard a second watch. I don't know that I can stomach it. Like, I had a much stronger stomach when I was in my teens, and I'm old and soft now, so I don't know that I could watch it. So I'm not sure I can back her up or dip a toe into that conversation.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I will say not as gory as I thought it would be. There is a lot of off-screen horror and a lot of implied horror. There's maybe like two or three like they full on show stuff.
Well, maybe my imagination just exploded and that's what I'm remembering. Maybe I will give it a try.
I will say I don't love Eli Roth as a director, and I think maybe there is something there, like looking into the aughts and 9/11 and xenophobia and fear of traveling and stuff, but I don't know that he's the most nuanced filmmaker to take that on.
Nuanced.
And I don't know that I don't know that we meet a woman in the movie whose boobs we don't see. Except for like 2 tourists.
Oh, wow.
So heavy on the porn, not so much the torture.
Yes.
That happens off screen.
That sounds right. Yeah. Eli Roth is really hit or miss for me. I do like Cabin Fever a lot, and I like his series looking at horror.
The history of horror,
like his nonfiction work, his documentary work. I like that. Yeah. That's fun. Otherwise, he's real touch and go for me.
Yeah. So I don't know. It definitely had elements that I liked and I appreciated, and I was like, okay, I see that. Okay. And I was like, but why? But why?
Perhaps if I'm feeling strong, I'll give it a try.
Yeah. Another underrated one, we were talking about Identity.
Yes. This is so funny that you put it on here because I randomly watched it one night when I was home alone and I was just having like a cozy time, and I was flipping through Netflix or whatever streaming service I decided to land on that night, and I was like, oh, John Cusack. Oh, I don't know this one. And there's I think there's like quite a few well-known names in this movie. So
John Cusack loves hotel horror.
He certainly does. Yes. Oh, interesting. I wonder if there's a third one hidden in his filmography. We'll have to go take a deep dive. But I put it on. I had no idea what it was. I had never heard of it before, but I was like, this is exactly the kind of thing I think I want to watch right now. Something like Gothica or, that kind of thing. And it delivered. It absolutely delivered. It also is a very strong type. It's very reflexive of the era that it was made in, but it is so fun and ridiculous. It has a giant twist that we shan't spoil because then that will be sad for new watchers, but it's a lot of fun. It's like a closed room whodunit sort of thing. You've got this cast of characters all coming in from different areas to, I think it's just a motel, right?
It's a motel and it's like pouring rain outside and people start dying, so you're trying to figure out who the murderer is.
Yeah. And you can't trust anybody. It's great. It's super fun.
There's like someone who's traveling with a convict and like needs a place to stay. There's like a family. There's a couple. Like there's a sketchy motel owner.
Yeah. The convict is played by Gary Busey's brother, by the way. I think it's his brother. They're definitely related.
I didn't know that.
He looks like Gary Busey. Like it's the familial resemblance is strong.
One that is technically a resort, but I still know what you did last summer.
Oh my God. Oh man, this movie is outrageous.
It is. Okay, you're talking about the ending and the reveal, because I was like, you've got what?
Like literally everything about it is outrageous. I watched it years ago. It was the last time I watched it, so it's been a little while. I don't know that I watched it before. Like my library has copies, so I just like grabbed it one day. I was like, hell yeah, love the first one. Gonna watch this. I I don't know if I liked it. I don't know. Brandy's in it,
Yeah.
right? Is Brandy in it? Yeah. And I was like, yes, I can't wait for Brandy. But it just, yeah, I liked the first one better. But everything about it is just unhinged, I'm going to say. It's pretty unhinged.
Well, I was watching it a few days ago, and I looked up from my computer, and I'm terrible with faces and like placing people, but I was like, is that Rufus from Gossip Girl?
Oh my God.
And I was like, he's one of the like main people in this cast.
Oh, that's so weird. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, that is such a strange connection. Those are two totally different times to me.
Yeah.
Even though they're right next to each other. There's like, they're the same time, but I'm like, they're totally different times.
I was like an hour into this movie. I was like,
and then the realization just hits you.
So I was like, this guy seems very familiar. Like I know him from something. But yeah, there's a top. But also want to say in Hostel, not too much of the horror happens at the actual hostel, which is the impression that I was under. I was like, oh, they go to this hostel and they end up in like the basement of the hostel. But it's a completely different place.
Yep. So I guess the reputation of hostels can stay good.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Libro FM. Libro FM is the first and only company which lets you purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore. You can pick from more than 150,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company out there. You know the name. But you'll be part of a different story, one that supports community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to get more books into your busy life. Listen during your commute, while doing chores, walking the dog, or just relaxing at home. All you need is a smartphone and the free Libro FM app. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen to next, check out recommendations and curated lists from people who know audiobooks best. Booksellers. And us. We also have a playlist on there full of books that have been recommended on this podcast. Books in the Freezer special offer. You get 2 audiobooks for the price of one, just $14.99, with your first month of membership using code FreezerBook. This offer is valid for new members in Canada and the United States. Thank you, Libro FM, for supporting the show. Well, should we talk about some books?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I will start off with podcast favorite and mentioned earlier, but The Return by Rachel Harrison, referencing the Madonna Inn. But this is about a group of friends that book a girls' trip at a quirky hotel in New York after their friend, who had been missing for months, suddenly reappears. And everything sounds fine and good. Like the rooms are all individually styled and have these really like loud, quirky themes. So everyone's having a good time. But the problem is that she is not acting like herself. Like there's a lot of things that are off about her now. Like she's kind of appeared again. Like she used to be a vegetarian and now she is like disgustingly like scarfing down like rare steaks. They're like, when did this happen? What happened?
When did you become so repulsive?
Well, it's like one of those things too. And a big part of the novel is like the dynamic between the friend group and like, hey girl, are you okay? And then as soon as she disappears to go to the bathroom, like the talking amongst themselves, like, did you see that?
Oh, yes.
She hasn't always done that, right?
Yes.
Is this a new thing? But things start to get dicey, like people start disappearing. And one thing I did love about the book is that it just starts to get more and more chaotic, and the staff still has to be like, oh, can I do anything to help you, as everything is falling apart.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is a really funny element. Such dedication.
Be like, I will be right with you. No one showed up for work today. So hold on.
There's a pool of blood in the middle of the hallway. I don't know where it came from.
So yeah, I loved this book. It really surprised me. I think I've mentioned this before, but I think it was marketed more as a thriller, and so I was kind of expecting that angle of it. But I'm like, oh no, I was reading it and I'm like, this is a horror novel. This like definitely commits to that, and I appreciate that. So
yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite books of all time.
Yeah.
It absolutely floored me when I read it because it is scary. Like, it scared me at times, but it's also extremely compassionate and funny. That quirky hotel is just like the most delightful setting. So I love that there is like real inspiration for it, and I could go there like you did. I'm definitely gonna like break my homebody stance and go visit sometime. But also, like, you were talking about the female friendship, you know, those four, like, that is so honest and real. That felt so real to me. Such a wonderful representation of long-term female friendships. Like, those girls that I went to Lake George with, that is very much like what our friendship is. We've been best friends since high school, so it's been decades together. And I just thought that Rachel Harrison nailed it.
Yeah, and I really like the main POV we get is, you know, one of the girls in the friend group who was closest to the girl that went missing, and it's her kind of dealing with a lot of her own issues, and she was the only one that wasn't ready to grieve her yet and was still kind of holding out hope that she would show up. Like the girl that was missing, I should probably learn character names at this point.
I don't remember any of them either.
But, you know, like, she was kind of the one that would call her out on stuff and like hold her accountable, and now that she didn't have that in her life, she found that she was kind of spiraling and like really missed that. And I don't know, I just really liked that element of it too. Like,
Because there's like that grief. It was a good discussion of grief within the book, I thought, and like a good depiction of grief, or a refusal of grief, which I still think is a kind of grief.
You're just stuck in the denial
that you don't see a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't see a lot of that. So I was happy to see that story told.
Right, so I would definitely put it in the fridge. There's some fairly like gory and disturbing sequences. Like, this is not just like people go missing and everything happens off screen.
No.
I would say there's enough other elements that I think people who are curious about horror, I would suggest this to them. I'd be like,
a nice gateway. Okay.
So that is The Return by Rachel Harrison.
Awesome. My first pick is The Summer Job by Adam Caesar. This one's kind of a fun, like, occult slasher. We follow Claire, who is in her mid-20s, and she's dealing with that kind of like post-undergrad wandering that happens to a lot of us. She doesn't really know what to do with her life. You're just kind of lost, and that's not uncommon. But after her degenerate boyfriend burns down the restaurant that they all work in, she decides to make a big life change and takes a job cleaning rooms at like a bucolic little hotel bed and breakfast in a small town a few hours outside of the city, which the city is Boston. This takes place in Massachusetts. And things are strange, like, right from the beginning, but Claire just kind of like writes that off as like small town life. Like, we know small towns are super weird and can have their own kind of personality, so to speak. But unfortunately, this small town takes those kinds of things, those like cliques and drama that you would expect from a small town, and just like blows it up to the extreme. This is very much like Dark Stars Hollow, I feel. So soon after Claire starts hanging out with like a mysterious group of hippies, where they just like go hang out in the woods and do like weird bonfire hippie parties, she starts hanging out with them, and things start to get really weird and dark for her at work at the hotel. So things just get like confused, and I'm trying to like be cagey about details because I don't want to spoil anything. But let me just say, it's definitely not like a town you'd want to spend a quiet weekend sightseeing. Like, it's just, this is a devious and scary place. You're not gonna like it there. And so I'm not going to say much more without giving anything away. There are a lot of fun reveals in The Summer Job, so I don't want to do spoilers, but I can say that it has a lot of very fun elements. So, you know, I mentioned the occult. There are secret rituals. There's slasher vibes. There's the creepy bed and breakfast, of course, and as I mentioned, weird hippies, which that completes a balanced diet of horror for me. Love it. And you know, Claire clearly walks into a battle that's been raging for like decades in this town, and the question really is, like, can she learn the truth and save herself? Who knows?
Ooh.
You'll have to read the book and find out. I really liked this one a lot. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't heard of it before. I know Adam Caesar. I have, Clown and Cordfield. His writing is great. It's really energetic. I really enjoy reading his stuff. And The Summer Job is incredibly fun, and it's fast read, and it's actually perfect for taking on vacation this summer. So if you're looking for summer TBR recs, you can put that on there. But it might make you suspicious of quaint little hotels for a while. So keep that in mind.
What if I want to stay at the Dragonfly Inn?
Oh, well, check to see if dogs go missing in the town first before you stay at either the Stars Hollow Inn or the Dragonfly. I'd be more suspicious of the Dragonfly. Just make sure the dogs are alive and well. Okay. I would say this one, I mean, maybe like The Return, like, is definitely fridge, but it also has like those moments of like extreme gore. So it could like touch on freezer territory.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's The Summer Job by Adam Caesar.
Ooh, that's been on my list for a while. I've always been like, I need to check out his other stuff because I know he's written a lot of stuff before Clown in a Cornfield.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I should do that.
Yeah, this one came out in 2014, so it's been around for a while.
My next pick is Horror Hotel by Victoria Fulton and Faith McLaren. So this came out this year, and this is YA horror, and this is about a group of teen paranormal YouTubers. They have a YouTube channel called Ghost Gang.
I love that. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's funny because one of them is kind of like the big YouTube personality. Like one of them is the camera guy, and like one of them has like actual can talk to ghosts or like is sensitive to spirits. They're trying to hit a big milestone, a big subscriber milestone. So they decided to do something big. So they're staying at this notoriously haunted LA hotel, which is definitely based on the Cecil Hotel. They are kind of staying in it's kind of like a hostel situation where like they have a room with bunk beds and like you share with like other people. And their plan is to kind of like sneak out and go to one of the forbidden floors where like there was like the serial killer stayed. And of course, while they're there, they stumble upon something dark and unexpected, and it might not be what they bargained for.
Oh, I love that. I'm really excited to read this book. When I saw you put it on the list, I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is so in my wheelhouse. A little confession for the listeners. In high school, me and my friends put together a group called the Fear Force because our high school was alleged to be haunted, and we did investigations in our high school, and we made t-shirts. So I have t-shirts that have a ghost on it that say Fear Force.
I love that. Why don't you guys get like a Netflix show?
Oh, most of us are still friends, so we probably could. It would be a hit.
I listened to this on audio, and I will say it's a full cast audiobook, like each, and because it's different perspectives, you're getting each of the different Ghost Gang members perspectives. But yeah, I would say it's a good YA horror. I would recommend it maybe for younger listeners. I think people who probably read a lot of horror kind of see where it's going pretty quickly. But I would say like it was still like a fun way to pass a few hours. But it was a good full cast audiobook. Rating wise, I would definitely say room temperature though. But definitely fun. So that is Horror Hotel by Victoria Fulton and Faith McLaren.
Nice. I'm gonna opt for the audiobook version of that. I'll look to see if it's on Hoopla or Libby, one of the library apps. Love audiobooks. All right, my next pick. Okay, this one is many things. It's a lot. So, stick with me through this, folks. It's The Last by Hannah Jameson. Came out in 2019, and it really came out in 2019. Like, it has very thinly veiled references to certain political leaders of the recent past and in the time, and it is like it makes sense, but it's dating itself for sure. Anyway, this is a mystery crime thriller with suggestions of the paranormal set in a kind of post-apocalyptic situation. Also has a hotel. So there is a lot happening. John is an American who's attending a conference in Switzerland when nuclear war breaks out, and a bunch of the world's population is killed, like, pretty quickly. Most major cities are decimated. This event is not the focus of the book, though. It's more of the backdrop. The main focus of the book is much smaller. You know, the main plot points are closer to home, so to speak. The hotel that John is staying in is like out in the woods of Switzerland, and it's far enough away so that far enough away from like the various bombings that everybody there is more or less okay physically. But they're basically cut off from the world, and they have zero news of what's going on, and they can't connect to loved ones. And they don't know if the nearby city is safe, and they don't know if they can find a way back home. So John and a few dozen others decide to just like hang tight at the hotel. But as the days go on, several people decide to do different things concerning whether to stay at the hotel or not. Some people decide to end their own lives, so there's trigger warning for that. There's actually quite a bit of suicide throughout the book. And a few of them decide to try their luck on the road in the aftermath of all of it. So, you know, little by little, the numbers at the hotel dwindle to a smaller size, and a bit of a community starts to form amongst those who stayed. When they start to notice that the water is getting a bit funky, John and a few of the men go up to the water tanks on the roof to check it out, and they find the dead body of a little girl in one of them. And so they were definitely drinking the essence of dead body. So that's disgusting. But, you know, the Elisa Lam reference there. But John, who's a historian, decides that they owe it to this little girl to, like, figure out who she is and investigate her death. And, you know, even if justice as they once knew it doesn't exist anymore, he feels that they should try to give her some kind of justice. So John goes, like, full steam into this investigation. And he's trying to figure out, you know, if the killer is still at the hotel among the survivors, and, like, how they can punish this act, kind of thing. Meanwhile, the hotel itself is like extremely weird. There's a bunch of weird stuff about it. There's a presidential suite that apparently doesn't exist. The ownership of the hotel, like the history of the ownership, is not clear. There was a serial killer, so again, kind of like that Cecil Hotel situation. Like, there was a serial killer that stayed at this hotel and attacked people at the hotel when he was staying there. People report feeling a presence, or like there are other people staying in the hotel with the survivors, but they never quite see them, kind of deal. Like they're like, someone just turned the corner sort of thing. John hears voices, and there's reports of people seeing like visions, and it's just so many weird things happen at this place that is becoming home in this post-nuclear war landscape. But as the book goes on, John is making wild discoveries, which I'm not going to spoil. There's a lot of discoveries. There's a lot of things that happen in this book. And people form relationships. There's difficult decisions that have to be made. And it's just, this book is so many things. I keep saying that, but, you know, it's about resiliency, and it's about grief and starting a new life amidst horrific circumstances, and forging new friendships, and survival, and like the wonder, both good and bad, of humanity. And it's about what it means to be a good person too. So there's a lot of horror just like wrapped up into those concepts, I feel. Yeah. But there's also just like a lot of dark stuff that happens in this book. It's kind of a weird one. The narrative it's all from John's perspective. And I wish that Jameson played with that a little bit more, like the unreliable narrator situation, because John is a historian. He's writing down everything that happens for posterity, but you don't really know if he can be trusted, and he's kind of an asshole in the beginning. So like, I at first didn't really like this book because I didn't like John's voice, and that's kind of the problem with this style of narrative and with like epistolary novels. Yeah, I like do you like epistolary novels? Do. Yeah, I like them, but I feel like this can be this could be tricky if you don't like the person's voice who's telling the story, but you're like stuck with them. Like, that can be an issue. But he gets better. He gets better as the book goes on. You get to know him better. But still, he's not trustworthy, which is really interesting because he is a historian and a scholar. So to me, as a librarian, that makes a huge statement about, how history is recorded, how information is generated. Information is not objective. Not even numbers are objective. Like, I could go off on that for a long time. But I thought that was a really cool thing that could have been played with more in this book. But regardless, I enjoyed that device that Jameson used. The last is not technically a horror book. It's more of like a thriller mystery. Eventually, they do decide in the hotel, it's not safe for them to stay there anymore. And they have to make a decision about what to do. So that part's interesting. The reason why the hotel isn't safe anymore is really interesting. It might not be what people expect. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say another thing that's in this book, but that might spoil it. So I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it untouched. Just know that there's like so many things present in this story. But because it's more of a thriller and a mystery, I feel like it could be fridge at times. There's gore and there are extremely creepy and eerie situations, but it's not technically that. It's not horror. So, and I wouldn't say that those scary moments are sustained throughout enough to put it in the fridge full time. So I'd say it's chillin', but it's not chilled.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. And that's The Last by Hannah Jameson.
Interesting. I hadn't even heard of this one.
Yeah, I came across it when looking for books to read for this. I hadn't heard of it either.
Interesting.
Apparently it's being adapted, though.
Oh.
It's going to be adapted, yeah.
Okay. Right on. Right. Well, my last pick is The Nightly Disease by Max Booth III, who was the guest on the previous episode. And I told him I was reading this for this episode. He's like,
such a good conversation you guys had. I really enjoyed that episode.
Thanks. It was fun. Max is very fun. And,
yeah, he's funny.
This, I think, read a lot like him, like Isaac, the main character. It's a first person narration, and it was very much like his humor. Going into this, I was thinking this also could have worked perfectly for workplace horror, because this is following a guy named Isaac who is a night auditor at a hotel, and it is just kind of like the things that happen. And the first big chunk of the book is like the inner monologue of being frustrated with like customer service situations and being like, what I told the customer versus what I actually wanted to tell the customer.
Oh, yes. All of those of us who are familiar with customer service know this well.
And there's a lot going on. There's like possibly these like spooky talking owls. But then, as you're following Isaac, like he just gets himself into like crazier and crazier situations, and things just start escalating. But then, he's also like with a weird sleep schedule. You're like, so how much can I trust like your perception of what is happening here? But I really liked it. This is probably one of his most personal books, because he wrote this while he was a night auditor at a hotel in Texas. And
well, there you go.
Yeah. And he did mention on the episode, like, there was a time where like he and his family lived in a hotel for a few years. So that comes into play. And like the first part, there's like an introduction to the novel where he has a bit of a memoir part of like, this is my personal story and like how it relates to this book. Yeah, but this was really fun. Really, like, it had wacky kind of wacky parts, and I don't know, Isaac was just very funny. Just his like way of looking at things and his observations I thought were really funny. So I would say like still like a cold room temperature maybe. I wouldn't say it was super scary. There was some definitely like weird tense situations and moments, but I feel like a pretty enjoyable read. That is
I'll have to pick that up.
Nightly Disease by Max Booth III.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. And I was telling you before we started recording, like, I love hearing Max like just talk about things every like podcast. Like, his stories are hilarious and outrageous. He's so funny. So if this book feels a lot like how he just is in conversation and such, and like draws from his life, I think that would be so much fun to read. All right. So my last one is The Grand Hotel by Scott Kenmore, which came out in 2014. And this is a really creative book. I hadn't heard of this one before we decided to do this topic. It's a series of short stories that are pulled together with like a clever connecting device, which I enjoy that. I think that's really cool. If you can find a really creative connecting device to bring everything together, I think that's just, it makes it flow in such a fun way. So in the Grand Hotel, a random group of people stumble on this abandoned looking hotel, the Grand Hotel, and they decide to go in and do a little light trespassing since nobody is there, obviously. So it comes as quite a shock when they're greeted by a mysterious and striking man claiming to be the front desk manager. He charms the group and he convinces them to go on a tour of the Grand Hotel. And as they're working their way through the uncanny and perplexing structure that is the building itself, they run into various long-term tenants of the hotel, and each tenant has a fucked up story to tell. So the tenant stories are like the short stories in the collection, which is really cool. And there's just like so much range with these. The book is told in a way that like suggests that this exact situation happens all the time. Like people are just always wandering into this hotel. And the front desk manager is like, let's go for a tour. And he's like talking about how everything is so practiced and on cue and like all of this stuff. So that gives it kind of like a creepy vibe to be like, this is inevitable. It's just like the assumed inevitability of the progression of the events from the narrator and from like the storytellers. Like I thought that was interesting. It was an interesting tone to take. But there's something a little bit different about this particular tour group that we are kind of with, I guess you could say, as the readers. Or actually there's someone that's different actually about this particular tour group. But I'm not going to spoil that because it's just kind of a fun thing as you go through to experience. So the Grand Hotel is it's extremely charming, and I really enjoyed Kenmore's writing. It's just like dripping with atmosphere, and it has major Neil Gaiman vibes. So if you like Gaiman, definitely give this one a shot. And I also think if you like anthology horror like VHS or Creepshow, you'll like this one too, because with the short story element, it does kind of feel like, you know, someone is telling you a story. So it does kind of feel like an anthology horror movie to me anyway. But yeah, I think like this one's hard to judge on the scale because of the different stories. Some of the stories are extremely dark. Some of them are just kind of like campfire story level. So I feel like this one could be fridge, but it's probably, again, you know, kind of cold room temperature. It's more charming and atmospheric than anything, and actually it might be really fun to read some of those stories around a campfire. So if you're folks who are like me and my family and we go camping or we have a fire, we love to read each other scary stories. This might be one that you could flip through and find, you know, pick one of the stories to read to your family, because some of them are just like extremely dark and will stick with you for a while. I really liked one about, I think she was Russian, and she had to go to a boarding school, and there was a girl who was Roma. So there's some like not great stereotypes in this one, but she's Roma and she decides, you know, she's helping the main character out with a boy situation, and the boy situation gets weird. So then her Roma friend just like tells her, don't worry, I'll take care of it, and like acts like she's gonna put like a curse on the boy, but what she really does is just a very elaborate con that is excellent, and she comes out on top like extremely well. So it's really, that one's fun because there's some fun twists in it.
I'll have to check
and that's
this out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the writing is so wonderful. It's just like, it's perfect for, you know, having a nice warm cup of tea and being like wrapped up in a blanket and just kind of slowly taking your time with it. It's one of those books. It's really delightful. And that's The Grand Hotel by Scott Kenmore.
Ooh. Those are our picks. I know there was a lot of other books we discussed.
Oh, yeah.
Kept going back and forth, and I think I changed my picks a few times. I think that's normal, though. Every time I like plan an episode,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm thinking of doing these 3 books, and it's like always ends up being 3 different books.
Yes. I looked at a lot, and I also changed mine quite a bit. there are plenty out there if folks are looking for horror books that have a hotel setting or, you know, could be classified as hotel horror. There's so many to pick from. And a lot of them are really good. Like, it was hard for me to decide which ones to shout out for this episode.
Yeah, I didn't want to do The Shining or Psycho because they're so well known. And I think that is like what people think of when it comes to this. I also could have done When the Reckoning Comes because they're staying at a plantation, and that's like a whole nother angle of hotel horror. It's like, what is the historical stuff that has happened here at this place where you're staying? Question mark.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there was, I looked at Creepers by David Morrell. I think that's how you say his last name. I think he is the guy who wrote the book that the Rambo movie is based on.
I did not know that was based on a book.
I didn't either. But I was looking at this. I was like reading his author bio on the back cover, and it was like, yes, best known for oh my god, I almost said Bloodsport.
I was like, is that the book?
First Blood, I think it is. I can't remember. Anyway, the Rambo movie. Yeah, not the Rob Van Dam excellence. We love Bloodsport. But he wrote a book called Creepers, which is about like those urban explorers that just like go into abandoned urban buildings and like explore. And it's a group of people who are doing that in this notorious hotel, and things go wrong. I didn't finish the book, so I was like quickly going through stuff, and I like ran out of time. But I do intend to read it because it seems like a really cool concept. I like that idea of like urban explorers getting in over their head. I think that's fun because it's also kind of like an abandoned hotel feels kind of the same to me as like an abandoned asylum.
Yeah.
You know, all these people have been here. It has a lot of history. There's a lot of, you know, residual energy kind of thing. There's a lot of potential there. But yeah, that one seems really cool. And then I did read Security by Gina Woolsdorf. I think that's how you say her last name. That one's wild. That one is like full-on slasher, and then the way that it's told, like the narration, is really unique. It's like through security camera footage, and I think the main narrator through the whole thing is like one security guy just watching things happen through the security footage. It's really kind of creative and interesting, but not much. It's mostly just like, you know, standard slashers. So if you like slashers, you should check out Security.
Cute. I was thinking about reading that one for this too. That was on my list for reading. Also, I was thinking of doing The Mansion by Ezekiel Boone, which is more like the high tech, but I don't know if it was a hotel, if it ended up being like an apartment complex or some technicality where it like didn't quite fit. Ooh. I don't remember. But I was looking at that too. Yeah. But I kind of liked doing this modern angle with like,
it is interesting. Like in Security, the hotel is supposed to be built to be extremely safe. And so that's kind of the twist. And we love that twist, right? Like we love to see things that are built to be like fortresses, having that power and that strength turned on itself and becoming a prison kind of deal. Like it's always successful. I
loved that in Devolution.
Oh, yes. Me too. Oh, I love Devolution. That book's great. Talk about a good audiobook. That audiobook is excellent.
Judy Greer killed it.
Yeah, nails it. Yeah. There's a bunch of other hotel, like Deadfall Hotel by Steve Resnick Tem. That one's also very Neil Gaiman-like. It's very charming and kind of like meandering, spooky, dark fairy tale sort of thing. And then The Resort by Bentley Little kept popping up, and like I started to listen to the audiobook of that, and I was like, this is very Bentley Little. I don't know if I have any, like, you either love Bentley Little or you hate him. I am somewhere in between, but the beginning of The Resort, I was just like, I don't know. But it does take place on like in a fancy resort in the middle of the desert, and things get real wiggity wonky like pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, give it a try. I don't take my turning off of the audiobook early as any sign of how good it is. I'll probably try it again.
Yeah. I mean, also Womb by Duncan Ralston takes place at a motel. As I mentioned on the Extreme Horror episode, I DNF'd it. I did try to read it again for this episode, and I was like, no.
Oh, the
Sorry.
determination.
Sorry. And it's not Duncan Ralston, because I have enjoyed other books by him. It was just very much this book that I am no. But people like it. Like, I mentioned it on a TikTok that did pretty well, and people are like constantly like, I see it pop up all the time. So a lot of people are out there and they are reading it and they are enjoying it. And you know what? That's great. Love to hear it.
Yeah. Perhaps you, listener, will also be one of those people. Yeah. But you won't know until you try.
Yeah. Well, Jocelyn, have you had any good chilling obsessions lately?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have. And you know what? I'm so happy to finally bring you one that I feel like very proud of, because the other times that I have been lucky enough to be a guest, I have had very like blah obsessions. I have not really been, you know, experiencing things at the moment that I thought were really, you know, horror based or all that interesting. And so like they're mostly just me returning to old comfort horror things. And I'm like, I am just doing my comfort horror all the time, apparently. But now I have an obsession and I'm so into it. So I watched Fresh. Oh my God.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Everything about that movie is incredible. And it just got me into this just train of thought of women eating or consuming things that they're not supposed to. Like specifically women consuming things that are taboo or not food. So like in Fresh, I'm not going to spoil too much, but there is a woman who eats human flesh. And so that kind of got me going. And that movie has a lot of like gender dynamics and, you know, what it means to be a good ally, good woman. I don't know. It's fun. The movie is very fun and it has a lot of good things to say, I think. But I was so captured by the image in this movie of this woman eating human flesh under duress. And it's like, what does it say about women who are like consuming things that they shouldn't be or that are taboo? So I am on this absolute bender of books that have to do with this theme. So I am just about done with A Certain Hunger, which, and I can't, Chelsea Summers, I think is
that sounds right.
I might be screwing up her last name, but that book is incredible. I love that. That's about a female serial killer who eats her victims. And she's also a food critic. So she's talking about her victims in these very elevated food terms. Like, it's just absolutely hilarious to me. It's very satirical. And that's amazing.
I did not know that that's what that book was about. Like, the cover is very like fancy, and I'm like, this is like about millennial ennui, I think would be the vibe that I get from it.
No, it's about like a boomer psychopath.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. I would say it's an interesting foil to American Psycho. It has very interesting connections in my mind, like parallels. And it's this kind of like snotty upper crust New York City East Coast elite woman who is like murdering her lovers and eating them.
Okay.
It's great. It's also kind of epistolary because she's right. It's like her memoir. So it's fun. And so like other books that are going to like go into this category really are like To Be Devoured by Sarah Tatlinger. And, oh God, I have a whole list. I'd put like The Vegetarian in this category. There is that new book that just came out about like kind of is like millennial ennui, I think. A woman vampire. God, what is that called? A woman hungry, I think. It's called something like that. And she's a vampire, so she's like drinking blood, but I think she's having like a midlife crisis or something. I don't know. The cover also is very stylized art, and I'm interested to see where that goes. But pretty much anything about women having weird, complicated relationships with food, or eating things that they're not supposed to, and looking at what that means about consumption, about womanhood, about bodily autonomy. I'm doing like a whole thing. I'm doing a whole project. I'm giving myself a paper, and I'm not even in school anymore.
Did you watch that movie that came out recently, Swallow?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, that definitely fits.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. It made me so nervous. I watched
just the preview, and a preview I was like,
Yeah, I know, right? It's very unsettling. Like the idea of putting things in your body, like food stuff is one thing. But then you're swallowing buttons, you're swallowing marbles. You start swallowing things that could rip your esophagus open. Like,
doesn't she like eat like
you
a
know,
needle or a thumbtack? I was like,
yeah.
no.
Oh, like true nightmare. But there is just I feel like there's so much to unpack there. So like I have started a whole project. It might come out in the form of a newsletter. We'll see what happens. But it is a true obsession for me now.
Did you read As Tender as the Flesh on there?
Tenders, yes, that's on there. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay.
I know. Well, you know what? I avoided it because I was like, everybody's talking about this book. I got that. But then I had a coworker read it and she's like, girl, you've got to read this. This thing blows up. Like, the ending is wild. You have to read it. So it's on there and I will read it. I think like Night Bitch is also on there.
Yes, I was going to say that one too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I made a whole list. But yeah, I think I'll do like a little project about it.
I want to see. You better send me that newsletter or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody will know. I'll blast it out. I'm like hardly on social media anymore. So when I finally get this thing put together and I put it on my accounts, everyone will get the notification that you get when people don't post in a while. They'll be like, oh, Jocelyn posted for the first time in 700 years. Better check it out. And it'll be about the newsletter. So
you're like, are you ready to defend this thesis?
Yes, very much so.
Last year, I kind of went on a kick of like watching horror remakes because I do feel like they get fairly maligned. And I don't think that's deserved. I think it's a big knee-jerk thing. And I think people, have been coming around more and more. I think now that we look at the 2000s with kinder eyes.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, like this actually wasn't that bad. It actually was pretty good. Like people, I think, are coming around to things like House of Wax and things like that. So I watched 2 horror remakes. Actually, I watched The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and then I watched the remake of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which was actually like a requel. I don't know if you watched the new Scream.
No.
Like talked about the requel.
Oh my Lord. Yes, the new Scream. Oh, we're gonna have to get drinks and talk about the new Scream.
But The Town That Dreaded Sundown, it's like, it's not a remake because it's set in kind of modern day and it acknowledges the first one, and it kind of has a meta thing where like it takes place in Texarkana and people are watching it and it's kind of like a thing that people do. So it's kind of like acknowledging the existence of this and building on that lore and making it like a modern day thing. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I enjoy that.
No, it's like kind of new because then we got kind of like a requel boom. We had like Child's Play and Halloween and like
that's true.
That, and then I watched, when I started doing the modern horror remake kind of watch thing, everyone told me that I needed to watch the Evil Dead remake.
Oh, did you?
I did, and hot take, I think I like it more than the original.
Oh, I love it. I love that movie. I was like blown away by it when I saw it in theaters, and I like bought a Blu-ray copy immediately. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
I would say it doesn't have the comedy of the first one, but I don't care. Like it was
it goes in a different
it was
direction.
So good. Like it gave me everything I possibly could have wanted out of it. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly where I wanted this to go.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's so full of heart. It's just the plot is so tight in my mind. Like it means something. There's like stuff actually happening. Like I love the original, and the humor is so much fun in that whole series. Like, yes, love that. But this was just a wonderful execution of the concept. You know, it's a new vision. The remake is a new vision, and I thought it was done really well.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll have to go through because I have like a ranked list on Letterboxd, and I think Suspiria was my number one so far of like a really good remake.
Yeah, that one's great.
So, as always, Jocelyn, what is your final girl song?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. This is my third Final Girl song that I've been able to document for the people here. So I've had quite a journey with my Final Girl songs. I've got one that was me in a horror comedy. I've got one that was me in what I think a typical slasher. And now I've got one that's it's a little different. We're like shifting theme a bit, but in my mind, it is a kids on bikes gearing up for the final showdown kind of song, which I think in those kids on bikes stories and movies, like that's the cool big scene that everybody loves to get pumped up for. That's where they put the good song, is like when they're getting ready to do battle. So I picked 666 by Anvil, which is a classic 80s metal vibe. And this song actually does appear in another horror movie. And I would love it if people tried to guess which one. It is in another horror movie. It might be kind of hard to hear, but it's there. So, and I'm not going to, go ahead and like throw your guesses at me. I love to make people guess things. But I love this song. It's so much fun. It's the epitome of that kind of like 80s metal vibe. And I think it just fits with that so well. It gets you pumped up. It gets you like ready to fight the devil, like, or fight with the devil. Your choice, dealer's choice.
Well, thank you again for coming on and joining me to talk about hotel horror.
Thank you.